Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining St. Charles County's Women's History Month virtual celebration. My name is Ashley Lincoln. I'm a reporter with KMOV News 4. And first, we want to appreciate everyone's time for joining us. We're excited for our audience to hear these amazing stories of resilience and determination of some of the women who work with the St. Charles County Police Department. But before we get started, we want to give you guys some background on exactly what is Women's History Month. Women's History Month has its origins and national celebration back in 1981 when Congress passed a resolution to recognize just 1 week in March, and then it was called Women's History Week. Throughout several years, Congress finally passed a resolution in 1987 declaring the month of March as Women's History Month. This month, as we now know, it's a celebration to celebrate women who have made strides across the country and recognize all the achievement that women have made on the forefront in various industries. So we're excited for you to hear the stories of the women from the St. Charles County Police Department. I'm also going to give you some background on the department within itself. The St. Charles County Police Department was started in 2015. The department is the largest law enforcement agency in St. Charles County. Now, the department provides a range of police and public services to more than 300,000 residents in St. Charles County. You guys are in for a big treat this evening. Before we dive into our program, I want to shout out a couple of our sponsors that helped to make this event possible. First, we want to give a shout out to Bahama Bucks, Quick Trip, Home Depot, and KMOV. They provided a lot of the treats that you'll see that we are going to give away during the raffle this evening. So we hope you guys stay tuned to see who wins some of those treats. And we're going to give you a quick rundown of our program. We'll begin. You're going to hear several stories from the phenomenal women within the department on how they got to the positions that they're in now. We'll have a brief intermission, and then again, we're going to raffle off some prizes, and then we'll have a quick Q&A session, and you're going to hear from the chief, so you guys can ask some questions about what it's like to be a woman in law enforcement. But we're going to start off with our panelists, and I'm excited for you guys to hear their stories. We're going to have a great discussion to hear from them. First, I think we're going to bring up Miss Janie Albright. I don't know if you guys can see. Okay, so we're going to skip Miss Jane. Don't think she's back yet. So I'm going to start with Miss Casey Kraft. She is a forensic scientist within the department. And that is a very, very fun and exciting field. It's a little different when people think about police work. You really don't think about what does a forensic scientist actually do? So give our viewers some background on exactly what your role is and what do you do in this profession?
Yeah, hi, Ashley. So forensic scientists are people who analyze evidence from various different locations and types of scenes that police officers would encounter. That could be DNA evidence, firearms, drugs. There's a slew of different disciplines within the forensic science field. I myself am a drug chemist. I have been a drug chemist for almost 10 years now here at St. Charles County Police Department. So our goal as a drug chemist is to get evidence in that would potentially contain any number of controlled substances and identify those so that then we can report it back to the officer.
Very interesting. So what made you want to go into this field? It seems very specific.
Yeah, I actually took a class my freshman year of college as an elective. I had heard it was interesting, thought it would be something that would be fun and kind of break up my norm. But it was definitely something that changed my choice on where I wanted to go with my career. I was a psychology major at the time, so that kind of shifted everything towards the science side. And once I really dove into my courses, I really became enthralled with it. I loved the scientific aspect of it while also having this problem solving side. That's always something I've really been intrigued by. So once I was in, I was hooked and never looked back.
Perfect. Such an interesting path and career, and a lot of females, I'm sure after hearing your story, will be interested in it, especially with the push with science. I'm going to bring up Ms. Courtney Spice. She has another one of those interesting positions within the department, working with a nice little partner, furry partner, I should say. Is he in there with you?
He is. Hey, point up. Come here. Tell everyone hi. Oh.
Let's
Say
see
hi,
him.
everybody.
Ah, there he is.
Hello,
What's
Tank.
his name?
This is Canine Tank.
Ah, so you have two of them you have to manage, right?
No, I just have Tank. That's it.
Okay, just Tank.
Yeah,
So
he's plenty to handle.
talk about a canine handler. I know it's a lot more different than just your regular patrol officer. What special training did you need, or did you need any when it comes to being a canine handler?
Yeah, so I do also normal patrol duties. I handle car accidents and stuff like that. But say there's a missing kid or special needs individual, or we have a suspect that runs from a scene, Tank and I will show up and we'll track and try to locate those individuals. He also locates narcotics and evidence or articles that are either lost or we can't find on a scene. He'll come and sniff them out and show us where they are. So I got chosen to be a canine handler, and I got sent to a canine school for 6 to 7 weeks to get all the specialized training I need. I needed to learn how to read Tank, read my surroundings, and stuff like that. So my initial police training, which was 11 years ago, and then my canine training was 6 to 7 weeks, and that was about 4.5 years ago.
Yeah, I always find it fascinating. As a reporter, we're on scenes. We see you guys working the scenes, and I always find it fascinating when the canines show up and they get to work, just like you all get to work. How much training, I guess, do the dogs have to go through to even know what they're doing when they're investigating these scenes as well?
So he might bark. Hold on. Since he's a hound dog, he started his training at a fairly young age. He was already starting to try to track people down for practice and stuff at about 4 months old, which is pretty young, but that's when he started. He was fully certified to track and trail and find people at 9 months old. Oh, wow. So it took, anywhere from 4 to 5 months to get him really set in stone. And then when I went down to canine school, that 6 to 7 weeks was really for me. I mean, he was already mostly trained, but it was for me to learn, how to read him, how to read the situation and stuff like that. And for us to bond as a team. Because now he trusts me in situations where if I tell him to jump up high on something or, go in this tiny space, he trusts me enough to know that I wouldn't let anything happen to him, and he'll do that for me.
Absolutely. We're here in Women's History Month. We're talking about women overachieving or going over that bar. Talk about, are there a lot of women that are canine handlers that you've seen with other jurisdictions across the area?
No, we're lucky enough with St. Charles County Police Department. We have me and one other handler, Bridget, and she handles a yellow lab, electronics sniffing dog. And then I know one other female canine handler down in Arnold, and that's the only us three are the only ones I know in the surrounding St. Louis area. So it's definitely, there's not a whole lot of women in general in law enforcement, but there's even less in canine, law enforcement. So.
Well, good information. Of course, we're going to let you all know how to apply for jobs within the St. Charles County Police Department. So if you want to be a canine handler, we'll let you know how to get your application in to apply. So we appreciate the information. I think we have Ms. Albright back. I think we're good to bring her forward. There we go. How are you? Thank you so much. We had a couple of technical difficulties. So she is the Assistant Director of Regional Emergency Management. So talk about what that is and what interaction you have with the community in that role.
Okay. Yeah. So emergency management is more of like a coordinating agency. So we kind of work behind the scenes during disasters to coordinate resources, especially in a large scale event like the pandemic. We work to secure resources and then be able to divide them up amongst participating jurisdictions. Usually disasters don't stay within jurisdictional boundaries. So we try to make sure that everyone has what they need. And so we do that kind of coordination.
Absolutely. I would say, or what would you say, what is the most rewarding part of that job? As I feel like you deal with a lot of disastrous or critical urgent situations that the public needs to be aware about?
Yeah, I would say the best part is just being able to help my community, and not only during the response part, but in the recovery, helping the community recover in the aftermath.
Beautiful. We're going to bring you back up in a second because I want all the ladies to eventually talk about some of the challenges that got each of them to the position that they're in now. I have two more ladies I want to bring up. We have another forensic scientist within the department, Ms. Michaela. Please help me. I want to make sure I'm saying your name correctly.
Yes, Ashley, it's Michaela. You're correct.
Okay, I was good. So talk about the type of forensic science that you do for the department.
Yes, so I work on DNA analysis. So right now I'm in a training program here at the police department to be a DNA analyst. So right now what I am doing is I'm processing evidence for DNA. What I mean by this is it can be anything such as a shirt that has a blood stain on it. It could be a water bottle that was submitted at a crime scene that maybe the suspect has used. And so I can take a cutting of the stain, or I can swab the water bottle to try to get DNA. And then next, what I can do with this DNA is develop a DNA profile. We can also get the DNA from a suspect, if there is one, and we can then compare the two and see if they match. And then that way we can provide this information to detectives. And this can help them put that extra puzzle piece in their case together and can help them solve a case. So that is what I am doing currently. And as I go through my training program, I'll be learning more and more about the DNA profiles and practicing with identification of different body fluids such as blood and saliva, and it's really exciting and just such an interesting program that I'm in, and I'm so happy to be a part of the police department.
Absolutely. Do you see a need for more information from young women wanting to learn more about forensic science?
Yes, I've actually had a couple younger students from my previous universities that I've attended find me on social media or through professors that I've had, and they contact me and they say, hey, I'm interested in forensic science. How did you get started in DNA? How did you get this position? And I'm so grateful to be able to tell them how I came to have this position and all my hard work that paid off to have the position I have now.
Absolutely. And would you encourage women that are in college now that they get those internships so that they can get, the firsthand experience of what this job really entails?
Yes, I would definitely encourage them to get as much experience as they can. Any kind of internship is extremely helpful to have that experience and be able to learn and show people what you can do. And it's also a great part just to know if this position is right for you. It's good to see that early on if you're indeed going on the right path.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to bring up Ms. Val Joyner now. She has a unique position in dealing with both the public and the media and the police officers within the department. Talk about how important the role is for a public affairs officer for police departments.
So the role is critical. I always define my job as, when you get that text message from a friend and it has the happy face emoji, the sad face emoji, the excited emoji. So with my job, I have to pivot constantly, and I'm only pivoting to make sure that the need is met for the community or maybe the officer that I'm assisting. It's a very exciting job. I get to make dreams come true. And you don't think that that's common in a police department, but you'll be amazed at some of the work that we do to make people feel good about being a community member and a part of the community of St. Charles County.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about how important, especially I feel like after 2020, we had a lot of protests, we had a lot of polarization when it came to the community and the law enforcement. Talk about the need for this role to help bridge that gap and make sure the education is going both ways.
Absolutely. You know, that was, and I know we're going to get into this a little later, but that's actually a part of my story of coming to the police department. I came to the St. Charles County Police Department after the Ferguson unrest. And the reason why I wanted to be a part of the police department was because I understood that there was a story to be told on both sides. I was a part of both communities. So even with the recent protests, because I am a community member, I'm a civilian, I know what people want to hear from the police department, and I know what's important from the police department to communicate to the public. So we work very hard in finding new ways to do outreach virtually, like this event here. And, you know, it's just important that we remain connected. There are so many community members who have my phone number, my personal phone number, because they can call me if they have a concern or if they have an idea, or even just to catch up, because they always need to be connected to their police department.
Absolutely. And I'm going to keep you on, and I want to make sure we do this quick, but I think this question needs to be answered by each of the ladies, especially in light of Women's History Month. You know, we see a lot of women that we aspire to and that we appreciate, but the things that got them there really helps paint a picture of what it takes to overcome certain circumstances to get to a certain goal that you want in your life. So share briefly with me, Val, about some of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome to get you in the position that you're in now.
You know, I can go back to as far as college, undergrad. At that time, you know, unfortunately, I suffered the loss of my father. He died by suicide. So even at that time, you know, I was 19 years old and I had to make the decision. Am I going to grieve for the remainder of my life, or am I going to accept this and move forward? And I had to. So I chose to move forward. You know, pressing through, going to class, even when I didn't feel like it, even when I didn't understand what was going on in my life, I pressed through. And, you know, fortunately, I graduated. And what's also very interesting about my story, when I was younger, I had a learning delay in which I had to go to what was then the RV in elementary school so that I can learn more about reading comprehension, because I didn't quite understand the things that I was reading at that time. So, you know, that was something else that I also had to work through while I was in college. You know, I'm very proud to say now that not only did I get my undergrad degree, I also have 2 masters, and I'll be starting a doctoral program in the fall. So, you know, you just got to keep pushing, regardless of what happens to you in life. Keep pushing, persevere, because your story is not over.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think we're going to bring all the ladies back on the screen if we can, so that they can join in on this conversation. And so I guess we could start with you, Ms. Albright. You had a health scare that you were able to overcome. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, I was fairly new in my previous position here in emergency management as the emergency management planner, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. That was July 2019. So I was out for a while for surgery and the first part of my chemo treatment. And then I came back to work in January 2020 and was still going through chemo treatments when the pandemic first came into St. Charles County. So it was a busy few months. But as Val said, you just persevere and push through. And I finished chemo in March. And so this is my 1-year cancer-free anniversary this month. And but in August, you know, everything that I was doing paid off, and I was promoted to assistant director then.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful testimony. And then I want Mahalia, you to talk a little bit about, you know, you're coming here from a completely different country. Talk about the challenges with that aspect.
Yes, so when I came to the US as a very small child, I didn't speak any English. So it was very hard to make friends. I didn't have any friends because I couldn't talk to anyone. It was hard to even learn in classes, and having to learn how to read and speak and understand all at the same time. it was a lot, and I had to work twice as hard as everyone else just to catch up. Even reading a simple book was very difficult. So that taught me that a lot of hard work and a lot of perseverance can not only help you get you back up to the level you need to be, but it can also help you exceed that level. And English was actually one of the topics and subjects in school that I enjoyed a lot, and I ended up excelling in it. So it definitely shows that when you work hard and you don't give up, no matter how behind you are, you can really do a lot.
Absolutely. You can put your mind to it. You can do it. And Casey, you're from Indiana, correct?
Yes, I am originally.
Yeah. You talked a little bit when we were doing the meet and greet a little bit about coming to St. Louis. Fresh start, no family here, foreign territory. Talk a little bit about the challenges you've had to overcome moving here as a transplant.
Yeah, I finished my undergraduate degree and got a job here at St. Charles County PD. And I packed up everything and moved here, not knowing a single person in the area, in the state. Everything I had known was in Indiana. So that was a little shocking. Even in my undergraduate degree, I was still in my home state, close to family. So it was definitely a big learning curve as far as being on my own, kind of taking care of myself, so to speak, but also then trying to fit into this new position where I am working in a professional manner with all of these people who have known each other for years, known the area. And so that was definitely hard to kind of find my spot. But I definitely kind of just put myself out there, and you have to just go into it with an open heart and an open mind, and people will receive that. I feel like a lot of people around the world are just looking for someone to be kind to them. So it definitely helped to be that on the forefront. And that was well received by my colleagues. And so I've definitely found my home here now with my husband and 2 children. So it's great.
Beautiful. And Ms. Spice, tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you've had to overcome.
So I spent, not a whole lot of people know this, but I spent some of my childhood in foster care, and it was back then. So I guess how long ago? 20 years ago, when I was a young pup. It was less than 1% of all foster kids even graduate high school or go to college. So I'm kind of one of those people that, I hear something like that, I'm like, okay, well, watch me. Oh, you want to be a female police officer? That's, it's a male career. Watch me. Good luck getting canine spot. All the guys always want that spot. Okay, watch me. Those were always challenge. If you say I can't do something, watch me. I'm going to. I've always been that way. I don't know what made me be that way, but as soon as I heard that percentage of the foster kids not graduating high school or even going to college, as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get my master's degree by the time I'm 30. So I was 30 years old, and 2 months later, I got my master's degree. So it was just for, I don't know, whatever inside of me, that little spark. But, if go ahead and tell me I can't do something, watch me do it. I try to instill that in young girls now, or, any little kid that has any interest in law enforcement. Just keep going, because I was told no 3 or 4 or 5 times on a canine spot, and then I finally got it. So I just try to tell those young kids that have that dream, just keep working for it. You could get told no by 2 or 3 departments, that the 3rd or 4th department may say yes. So don't stop.
Absolutely. I think perseverance and determination can be taken from all of your stories in some way or shape or form. I think we're still good on time. Just as one more question, and anyone can answer this if they want to, but I guess from a professional standpoint and working in a male-dominated industry, what would be some of the hurdles in your professional career that you might have ran into based on your gender that you weren't expecting before getting in?
I'll go ahead. So I think just being a female in a male-dominated field in itself is a huge hurdle. We are kind of in that era of not having equal rights or everything equal playing field. But we also can't use that as a crutch, and we can't use that as an excuse. We just kind of have to know what we bring to the table, and we have to know what we're good at and our job, and prove it, and let our actions and our jobs and our experience and everything that we do speak for itself. So I think that finding our voice, having a good say in this field, as well as doing our jobs the most effective that we can, is going to get us ahead, and level that playing field.
And I think too is knowing when we need help or assistance, like being okay that, hey, you know, I have this 250 pound person I need help lifting or anything, not hurting myself doing it, but hey, can you come help me? And just being accepting of others' help. They're not saying, oh, you can't do it. It's, yeah, I know what I am and am not capable of. So, I knew getting into the police world, I had to drag a 120 pound dummy the same distance as my male counterpart. So yeah, I might have had to work a couple weeks longer to build up the strength or to get that done. But I knew going into it, I needed to work twice as hard to get that done. So
I'd like to also add, be authentic, regardless of who you're around, always be your authentic self. If that means that you're silly, that's fine, because it may bring a light air to the department. Just always be true to who you are and never be who you think someone wants you to be.
That's good.
Perfect. Anybody else? Well, this was awesome. I think a lot of people can take away a lot from each individual story. And I think if anything, every single one of you ladies have showed that if you push through, nothing is given to us and we have to work for it. And if we push through, you can check that box off, you can make that goal accomplished. And I think the people tuning in tonight are definitely going to receive that and put that to work in whatever their dreams may be. So I think we're going to wrap up this section. We're slightly over our time, and then I think we're going to dive into our intermission right now for about a brief, short intermission, and then we'll be back. You're going to hear from our chief. We're going to have raffles. We're going to play a game, and it's going to be good fun. So we're going to take a quick break for 2 minutes, and then we'll be right back. brief intermission. You just heard great stories from female employees with the St. Charles County Police Department. Very insightful discussion. And now we're going to bring up the Chief of Police for the St. Charles County Police Department. Hi, Chief.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Great, thank you.
I'm going to say you have some amazing women on your team. You must be proud to have them.
I am very much so, and I want to thank and congratulate each and every one of the panelists that is participating. Their stories are great. The insight into their positions here within the police department is outstanding. I learned a lot about them. I learned more about what they do. Even as the chief of police, I don't know the details of what they do. I know in general what they do. What I can tell you is I know day in and day out, when people think of police work, they think about the uniform officers out there. They don't see the things behind the scenes, our forensics folks, our crime scene investigators, all the things that work behind the scenes. The officers on the road can't do their job without all this support. So we have some incredible women on this police department. I've been on the job for over 35 years, and I've been fortunate in my career to work with some remarkable women over that 35-year period.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about the various roles that women play within the department. I mean, it's a lot of levels within the police department.
There is. I think when a lot of people think about law enforcement or police work, they think about that uniformed position, being a police officer. You don't have to be a police officer. So we have our commission side, which are sworn police officers. Everybody starts on the road when they do that. They're in uniform. They work the street to learn the job. Then we have detectives, and within the detectives, we have crimes against persons. We have crimes against property. We have a cyber crime unit that they do some outstanding work with child pornography, human trafficking. They're combating that stuff every day. They do some fantastic work. And then on the other side of the house, so you don't have to be a police officer to be in police work. Our forensics folks that you heard from them, the crime scene investigators, our crime scene investigators that go out there and do the CSI work, they're all civilian employees. They are not sworn police officers. So our records clerks, our records room, dispatchers, there's a lot of ways to get into law enforcement that you don't have to be a police officer and go to the police academy. It may require some other education and training, but there's a lot of avenues to get involved in and become part of a police department.
Absolutely. And you already touched it. I was going to say there are several civilian positions that people can apply for if they do not have a law enforcement background.
Absolutely. And that's it's crucial to the function of any and every police department. The police officers can't do their job without the support staff, without the professional staff that, whether it's the records room, the crime scene investigators, the forensics, dispatchers, they're the lifeline for any police officer. So these roles are critical and crucial to us that are sworn on the sworn side of the house.
Absolutely. The other aspect of this is the recruitment. Recruitment is huge for law enforcement divisions. Talk about some of the steps you all are taking to get out there into the community to get people to join the department.
Well, we're very active on social media. So anybody interested in a law enforcement career, any position within the police department, specifically the St. Charles County Police Department, watch us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. Look for us on our website. We always post position openings on our department website. There's a lot of different avenues. If you think you might be interested, but you're not sure, you can always come take a tour, and we'll give you a tour of the station. You can do a ride along with an officer or a walkthrough with one of our, if you're interested in being in the crime lab, you can walk through the crime lab, take a tour if you have a genuine interest. There's other ways. We do go out to colleges, the academies to recruit. We put a lot of flyers out. You can also participate in like our Citizens Police Academy. If you're not sure you want to become a police officer or part of the police department, you can go through our Citizens Police Academy, which we have fall of every year. It's an 8-week or 12-week program. Touches every discipline of the police department. You'll learn a lot about every aspect of the police department and what the police department does. Mm-hmm. There's community outreach events that we always look for volunteers to help us on. We just had a fantastic egg hunt over this past weekend. We had hundreds of kids out there. So there's a lot of ways to get involved in the law enforcement. If nothing else, follow your local police department, St. Charles County Police Department, on social media to find out what's going on in your neighborhood.
Absolutely. As a reporter, we work closely with law enforcement on certain stories. And one thing that I do hear from police that are out there on the street, it takes a lot of community support to help you all do your job, especially with solving some of these crimes and scenes that you all are on. Talk about some of the programs or initiatives that might be within the department that if Joe Schmo wanted to learn more about the police department, what can he do? What can he be a part of?
Well, that's a great point, and I appreciate you pointing that out because we live in St. Charles County where we as police officers enjoy a great deal of community support. So my philosophy for all of our employees here at the police department is we owe a high level of professional service in return. And the more cooperation and partnership we can have with our community, our residents, the easier it is for us to solve crimes, resolve issues. So we have CareTrack. It's a great program to track at-risk citizens, whether it be elderly or with autism, that might be someone that might wander off. You can find out about that on our website. But the CareTrack program is a great opportunity. Anybody that has surveillance cameras around their house, a Ring doorbell or other home security systems, they can register that with us. What that does for us, we can't see through your camera system, but it allows our detectives or investigators to see that there was a crime committed here and there's cameras in this area. And we can send you a message, say, hey, could you check your camera between this date and time? So you can help us solve crimes by letting us know if you have some footage that you captured. It helps us help you and resolve these crimes.
Perfect. Very, very good information. And if the folks who are joining us, if you want to learn more about these programs, we have all of that information. You can just go to the link that's running at the bottom of the screen to learn more about recruitment, to learn more about what you can do to be an active and engaging citizen to help the police department. So we're going to continue with the program. And the chief, I hear you got us a prize game that we're going to do now.
I do, and I think it's a great opportunity for us right now. We got a trivia game. So there's going to be, look at the website. It's going to pop up here. And if you go there, it's going to be a trivia game. This is for a chance to win a bicycle. So it's a great opportunity to get you a new bike. And so please go to that link below and play along.
Perfect. Everybody follow that link. And for those who pre-registered, we did pump out a raffle, and I have the raffle winners. And your name will also appear on the screen. I am going to announce those winners right now. And the first prize, and all of these prizes were donated to us by our sponsors that we mentioned at the beginning of the program. And we want to thank our sponsors for giving us these items. So the first winner of our raffle, you will win a KMOV TV prize pack. This is a prize pack with tons of goodies. I was able to look into the pack to see what you were going to get, and you're going to get a lot of good stuff. And a winner of that is Erin Pollardy. Let's give a round of applause for Miss Erin. You will be the winner of that KMOV surprise pack. Here's the cute little KMOV bag that is in. So we will be sending that your way so that you can have that. And then our next raffle winner is Miss Felicia Winters. She will win a St. Charles County Police Department surprise pack. And we actually have two winners with this one. Miss Janet Crane will also be getting her St. Charles County Police Department surprise pack with tons of good goodies. And so the next raffle winners, I should say two raffle winners are in this category as well. You are getting a Quick Trip gift card, so that will be so beneficial with rising gas prices. We have Miss Sarah Amadon and Jamie Rayo Davis. Those are the two winners for the Quick Trip gift card. And then we have the fun Bahama Bucks party pack. And if you're ready for a party, Miss Jennifer Rigdon, she is the winner of that Bahama Bucks party pack. And then we also have another Bahama Bucks party pack. This one is a family night out. It will be for two winners. And the two winners of that raffle winning is Miss Melissa Hastings and Sasha Cummings. And then our final raffle is the big grill, perfect time for spring. The weather is warming up. Home Depot provided this for us. And Miss Gail Paynes, she is the winner of the beautiful grill that was sponsored to us by Home Depot. So Awesome, good gifts and just appreciation for all of our sponsors for helping us make this possible. And congratulations to all of the raffle winners. So thank you so much, Chief. We really appreciate you for stepping in. I think the public appreciates it too, to learn more about the department. And again, if you want to join to be a part of the St. Charles County Police Department, or if you just want to learn more about what our law enforcement do, we have all of that information scrolling at the bottom of the screen to learn more about the department. So thanks again, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And so we are moving on to our Q&A portion of our event this evening. And I don't know, do we want to pull up all of our panelists on the screen? Perfect. And we received a number of good questions. And we can do this kind of like how we ended the part one section. So whoever wants to jump in and answer it, we can do it that way. One of the questions we got actually at the beginning of our program, and I thought it was a really good question. It was basically asking, do you have any officers with disabilities? And if so, what is the workaround with that? How do they do their job?
Well, I can speak to that. So something that a lot of people may not know about me is a few years ago, I had an unfortunate medical event, and I developed a condition that caused me to build fluid on my brain. And as a result of the fluid building on my brain, my optical nerves, they swelled, and I lost vision, peripheral vision in both eyes. So yes, we do have some people with disabilities here. Now, how do I work around that? Again, simply just being my authentic self. There's not anything that I'm going to let stop me. Aside from working here at the police department, I do a lot of volunteer work in the community. And then I also have a daughter that I'm raising. So I couldn't stop if I wanted to. Actually, when I was sick, I tried to get put on disability, and my doctor wouldn't even allow me. She said, "You have too much in you. I'm not doing it."
Beautiful. The next question we got is, what is the biggest challenge that women face today? And I guess this question, they didn't specify if it's in law enforcement or personal life. I guess we can personalize it to each individual person, but I guess what is your biggest challenge that you face today outside of the pandemic?
I can speak to that. I think it's balancing home and work life. You know, as a mother, I have 4 children and work full time, and this job sometimes has odd hours, long hours. So definitely balancing home life, children, household chores, and work. But luckily, I am blessed with, I think, the world's best husband. And you know, we both work full time. We both also help and do things around the house and transporting kids all over town. So, yeah.
That is key. A good support system back at home, that's for sure.
Yes.
Anybody else want to take on that question?
Oh, I can take it as well.
Perfect.
So a challenge that I actually had and overcame is when I was in graduate school, when I was going for my master's. I was also working full-time at a genetics lab at WashU. I was doing research there, and it was very demanding and very competitive. It was very long hours with working and then going to school right afterwards. So it was definitely hard to balance everything and to really even have any free time, because it seemed like on weekends I would study or read a paper and do homework, and everything was just so focused on school and on science. And that paid off because I believe that those skills that I gained there and that knowledge of DNA is what allowed me to get this position that I currently have now and that I feel so fortunate to have.
Perfect. Anybody else? All right, next question. And I think some of you guys have already answered this question, but someone dropped in, what inspired you to pursue your current position?
I'll answer that. So like I said, I had spent a couple years in foster care growing up, and so the law enforcement side that I saw obviously wasn't the best. So I have a lot of mental health, family members with mental health issues and addiction issues and everything like that. So seeing law enforcement as a child in that aspect wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't during good times in my life. And so a couple of times I got to see, the aftermath of like the SWAT team going in and doing their job and doing and just seeing that. And I was like, well, here's some family members that are doing this, and then look at what law enforcement is doing. Like, just that opened my eyes to, well, I want to kind of do that. That seems really interesting. And I think I was like 8 or 9 years old, and ever since then, I started looking up, law enforcement, canine stuff, and even 9 or 11 years old, I drew a picture, and it's me and a dog next to me because that's what I've wanted to do since I was 9 or 11. I can't remember, but it's just something that I saw that it clicked in my mind. Like, I want to do that, and I want any kids that do experience law enforcement on maybe not the best day or best time, because that's usually when we're involved, to see that, I'm a goofball. So I try to be myself on the street. If I need to be serious, I become serious when I need to be. But if I have a time to joke or talk to these kids and show them how goofy Tank can be or how goofy I am, and just let them know, like, yeah, we're here to do a job, but we are also humans. And I'll go back, a week or two later and check on those kids, even when it's not, there for the reason, just to let them know, like, hey, we're people too. And you can count on us for everything, not just the bad stuff. So.
Yeah, that was a beautiful story, especially recognizing at such a young age what you wanted to do and made it happen. Anybody else wanted to answer that?
I can jump in as well to add to that. So when I was doing research, I learned that doing research really takes many years to find a discovery. It can take 10 years or more. And I felt like I wasn't really making an impact. So going into forensic science and using my DNA skills here, every case that I work, every case that I can help a detective solve, I feel like I'm making a direct impact to give answers for those victims, to help solve cases. I feel like that's really making our community a safer place. And I like being able to see that impact on a fairly regular basis.
Perfect. And we just got a question kind of geared towards the forensic science. So I'm going to give this to you, Michaela or Casey. Someone asked, what is one of the most interesting forensic cases you have been assigned to?
I'll go ahead and take it first. In the drug chemistry world, a lot of the more interesting things that we deal with are the larger cases, that being some sort of bulk amount of drugs that we have to figure out and test what they are. We actually, I worked on a case regarding a very large synthetic cannabinoid case, which is a designer form of a marijuana type drug. So they have since kind of gone by the wayside now, but back when they were very popular between 2011 and 2013, distributors and manufacturers of these were everywhere. And a big case that I worked on actually was correlated to several federal agencies, including the FBI, the IRS, as well as Homeland. And it actually crossed state lines into Illinois and Indiana, my home state, which was very interesting. So that was a really big case. Like Michaela kind of mentioned, just kind of seeing that impact on our community and feeling like you're making a difference was really nice.
Perfect. Did you want to answer, Michaela?
Yes. So I would say kind of what's interesting for me right now with working with DNA is seeing all the different kinds of evidence items that can be submitted. So every case is different. So you never know what's going to be in that package or what's going to come through the door. So in the short amount of time that I've worked here, which is 1.5 years, I've seen, a lot of interesting items. You'd be surprised at the things that can be left behind by a suspect at a crime scene. Some of the most interesting ones that I worked with recently was a chicken bone from a chicken wing.
Wow.
So there's always those kinds of surprising ones. I've gotten DNA evidence off of a shoe before. So just being able to work on many different items and always having every case be different makes this position highly exciting and always very interesting to be a part of.
Perfect. And then our next question we got from Facebook is, do you provide training for the officers on interacting with people on the autism spectrum?
Yeah. So we can, depending on your specialty, obviously, like mine is canine stuff. So we track special needs individuals, children and adults on the spectrum, Alzheimer, dementia patients. So I am constantly looking online or in magazines for classes on tracking their behavior and tracking just how they perceive and go through the world. Because one thing I didn't know until I took this class was that a lot of people on the spectrum tend to gravitate towards water, creeks, ponds, and stuff like that. And so, sometimes when I'm tracking and we go towards a lake or a pond, I never thought about, Tank doesn't just want to go swimming. The person might actually be down there. I should never second guess Tank, but sometimes I do. But classes like that, how far certain people on the spectrum or dementia, Alzheimer patient, how far they usually wander. There's studies out there that show that they only go a certain amount away from their home or from where they were last seen, or try to get back to where they used to live and stuff like that. So, I've taken a lot of seminars and conferences and stuff like that, as well as being CIT trained, crisis intervention team trained, for people going through mental health crisis, where it was a week long, I would say over 40-hour training. Plus there's other ones out there for CIT for veterans, CIT for children, week-long courses that most police officers are sent to go to. So we are trained, how to handle those situations properly when needed.
Perfect. And
if I can add,
Yes.
in addition to the training that the officers receive, we also have other supportive services for families. So, for example, we have emergency alert stickers that are available, and you can find those on our website and print them off at home. But that helps officers to know when they, let's say, come to a home, if there is an individual with special needs, diabetes, someone who's deaf, that basically helps them and prepare them for whatever situation that they're going into. And then the chief, he mentioned earlier, our Care Track program. That's especially important for people who wander from home. And I think, Officer Spees, if I'm correct, it wasn't Care Track, but Tank's first save was a young person with autism. Am I correct?
Correct. Yep. We were back from canine school less than 24 hours, and we got a call, and there were probably 10 to 15 officers on foot looking for this child, and it took Tank all of 2 minutes, sniffed a toy or a sock of this child, and within 2 minutes he located him.
Wow.
So it was pretty impressive.
That's fascinating. That is fascinating. Anybody who wants to answer this one, what advice would you give young ladies considering this type of career?
I'll go ahead and go first. I think in our field, especially in forensic science, really pushing females to get into STEM programs. Science is a huge deal in so many different fields. So making sure that they're actively using their brains to try and figure out these problem-solving type fields is a huge deal. Giving them that access as much as the guys, making sure that they have everything at their disposal to decide what they want to do is going to be a key part in making sure that women are going to be in all of these careers all for as long as we can remember, and hopefully take over a lot of that more male dominated areas.
Yep, I agree. I would say too, just keep going. You're going to be told, you could be told no matter what you do in your life. Just keep pushing through, because if it's what you want to do, nothing should stop you. If you put your mind to it and you're capable and you're putting your all 100% effort into it. I remember my last day in the police academy, I was told, you're never going to amount to anything in the police world. You're a tiny female. All right. And I was like, let's go then, bring it. And that's my attitude towards it. Like you say I can't do something, for whatever reason, I'm just really bullheaded. I'm stubborn. So just say, keep going and keep pushing forward through it. Even if you get a setback or you get told no, just keep pushing.
I'd like to add I'd like to add for a career in public affairs, even as a public information officer, start building relationships now. A lot of the relationships that I built years ago come into hand when I'm working at the PD. And it's amazing because for some of the things that we've done for community outreach, whether it is, unfortunately helping a child or a family plan a child's funeral, maybe hosting a surprise party for a kiddo who had a medical emergency and was unable to celebrate a holiday, doing collections for people who are in need. All of those things have been successful, not only because of the community, but because of those different relationships that I've had with organizations and individuals in the community where I can call and say, hey, I need you to do this for the St. Charles County Police Department, and they do it without hesitation. We have a great community that supports us.
And I would like to add one last thing also is having a positive attitude. And that's, for men or women, if you think about the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with, I don't know many people that say, oh, I really want to work with someone that's negative all the time. So a positive attitude, a can-do attitude will take you so far.
Absolutely. That's 100%. A final question, I guess, that we can ask is impacted everybody in every industry. This question was, what have you learned coming out and dealing with this pandemic, and how has that shifted how you operate? I know, like for us, obviously we're doing this forum virtually and a lot of people are working from home. So a lot of people are probably thinking, for law enforcement, you're visible. We see you guys out on the streets. How do you all shift and adjust and pivot when dealing with the pandemic?
Yeah, so I had to think about a lot too. Some family members are battling cancer as well. So not only do I have to think about myself when I'm going into a stranger's house or dealing with strangers, but when, in 12 hours when I get off work and I go have dinner with it, I have to think about who am I coming into contact after I get off work. So even when it was cold out, I would try as best as possible. Hey, can you have the call taker or the person come outside? Can we take it outside, or we'll stand far apart. I always have a mask attached to my duty belt now. I try to make that happen, the outside as much as possible. Obviously weather related and stuff like that you can, or if they can't get up and come to me. But we still maintain that distance, just because I don't want, in any situation, if people are sick or anything, I don't want to bring any of that home or to my family members or to anything like that. So we definitely try to keep our distance at this point.
Perfect. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably obviously know, like, the officers are still going to be doing their jobs. They're still going to be policing all of our communities. We as civilians obviously still had to come to work every day. Our jobs didn't stop because the officers' jobs didn't stop. So we had to adjust, making sure that we're having our own spaces to work, making sure that we all have masks, obviously social distancing. But we do also interact with the public. The public can come in and handle anything that they need to associated with the police department. So we have contact with them. We have contact with our detectives and officers in the building who have been out at the scenes. And like Courtney said, we really have to make sure that we're aware that those exposures are also to us, and we are taking it home to our families. Mm-hmm. So it's everyone's responsibility. And I think our department and the county in general has done a fantastic job to really make sure that we have everything at our disposal to be a good example of that for the rest of our community.
Perfect. Anybody else?
Yes, I have something I'd like to add. So, going off of what Cassie's saying, I definitely saw a change in my personal life from just going through the pandemic and also coming into work. I really started being careful at what I was doing outside of work because I know that I could bring it into work if I get sick out from outside of work. So I wanted to be very mindful that I work with others, and there's people that I work with that may have health conditions that I'm lucky not to have. So I want to care about them and think about their health and just know that we're such a small, close-knit team that I wouldn't want anything to happen to any of us. And just to keep that in mind and to really do my due diligence outside of work to help keep everyone at work safe.
And I would like to say, because the pandemic, I think, has made everyone more aware of exactly what it takes and what it means to be prepared. You know, anything from the toilet paper shortage that we all experienced, to, you know, drinking water, all of those things that were very limited on the shelves. You know, we should all have, not saying go out and stockpile all of it, but we should all have enough supplies to live independently of any sort of government help for at least 3 days. I mean, that could be anything from an ice storm preventing you from getting out to the grocery store, a water main break, you might need bottled water, to toilet paper, food, all of those things. So I think the pandemic is the first real thing a lot of people have experienced in their lifetime, for those younger generations, that they've really realized, oh, okay, there are a certain number of things that I need to be prepared to take care of my family until supplies become available.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
You know, I'd add to take a break. You know, close your door sometimes if you need to. Turn on your favorite jam and dance. Take a break. Get that energy out of you so you can reset and start back afresh.
Awesome. Well, this was great, ladies. I think we're slightly over our time, but I just want to say that it was an honor hearing your stories, sharing your stories. I think a lot can be learned from it. We don't take lightly what you all do for our community each and every day. I am, my dad is 30 years law enforcement out of Atlanta. So I've seen firsthand what it's like to grow up in that world and the sacrifice that you all make to keep our community safe. So we do appreciate the work that you all do. And I just want to salute you all. And it was great to honor you all during our Women's History Month. Congratulations to all of our raffle winners. And we will have tons of information and links on how you, the viewers, can learn more about the St. Charles County Police Department. If you want to join to become, have a job in law enforcement, or if you're just a civilian and you want to learn more about what they do for your community. All that information is scrolling at the bottom of your screen. And we just want to thank our panelists again and thank the chief for stepping in, for sharing words for everyone participating this afternoon or this evening. If anybody else wants to say anything, any closing thoughts, feel free.
I'd just like to say thanks to everybody for, number one, joining online and taking time out of your evening. You can see what amazing women we have here at St. Charles County Police Department. And if you're interested in a career in law enforcement, follow the St. Charles County Police Department. It's a great place to work.
Perfect. And with that, I think that will conclude our program. Thank you again, ladies, and great stories for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.